Greetings, Barbara E. Ringrose. I'm the founder of Wow Women Optimizing Women, and today you are on our YouTube channel for Wow. Have a special guest with us, Danelle Stratton.
Hello,
Danelle
Barb.
is the owner of Stratton Financial Solutions. And what's exciting about this is Danelle and I met a couple of months ago. Well, maybe it's more than a year now, isn't it, Danelle?
No, not quite. I think we met around November.
Oh, was it? Oh my God, how time flies. That's such an exciting part of what I do. I meet people and I feel like I've been with them so much longer than I have, and you're no exception. So I'm so glad that you've joined WOW and you participate in WOW. And one of the amazing thing about WOW, being the founder of an organization that actually started in September of 2012, you can visit WOW on our website at wowwomenus.com. You can go to our events page and join Danelle and I, along with the other WOW ladies, as we come together on the first and the third Mondays of each month. Unless there's a holiday, we'll be there from 11 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time. Would love to have you join us. Always a pleasure, Danelle, to speak with you. Would love to hear a little bit more. Introduce you to all of the YouTube viewers here for our WOW YouTube channel and talk to us about how in the world did you go from 25 years in the military to now doing financial strategies?
Well, Barbara, first, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Yes,
You're
I
welcome.
did spend 25 years in the military, and then I transitioned in to the financial industry. So started in the military at the age of 20 because I became a single mom at the age of 17. And so I was still a child, having a child, and I knew I needed to figure something out for my son just to give him a stable future. And so I decided I'm going to join the military, and then I served 25 years. But this allowed me to provide for my son. It taught me discipline. It taught me leadership and resilience. And most important, it taught me to have a plan for the future. Um, Before I retired, I decided I wanted to start something totally different because everybody in the military always went to like Ball Aerospace, Lockheed Martin, or any of a defense contractor, or just something along those same lines. And I just wanted to reset and do something totally different. And so I started helping families because it still allows me to serve my community, and it allows me to provide education to families and women because we're not taught it in school. And so I found in the military that I didn't know enough about money. And so that's what I wanted to do.
That's interesting that you even decided to go look towards the military for that support because something obviously was missing from where you were at that point in time, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Um, when I was in the military, well, okay, so I guess let me back up a little bit. So before I got into the military, what was missing for me there was a place to provide a stable foundation for my son because I was a single parent. And then later, towards the end of my career in the military, I felt something missing there too. And somebody had told me one time, when you know, you know. When you know it's time to retire, you know. And I didn't understand that,
Of course
but
not.
until I got to that space. And what was missing for me there was I was missing the ability to spend time with my family. I was always at work. I wasn't present. And I found that my husband was raising my kids more than I was.
That's interesting. My girlfriend, Stephanie, I use her and my close friends because there were four of us growing up starting at age 10 when we started that little group. And I use them all the time in examples. And one of the things Stephanie said to me, she retired before I did, was you are the type of person who always want to plan things out. And it sounds like you didn't really have a plan, but somehow you adopted a plan. Much like when I started my mortgage career, I had no idea that was where I was headed. Spent 22 years, not as long as you did, and then retired. And I kept saying to her, "I'm going to retire October 2023." She was saying, "Well, rethink that. You may not retire at that time. You may wake up one day and say, 'Stick a fork in me, I'm done.'" Well, that's what happened to you. Same
Yeah,
thing. And I retired almost 18 months sooner than I thought I was going to.
yeah, absolutely. I the funny thing is, before I had got pregnant with my son at 6 months at the time I was 16, because I had just had him when I turned 17, I in ninth grade, I knew that I wanted to go into the military, and then I thought that everything shifted having my son and that I wouldn't be able to go in, but, um, I was allowed to still go in and have him, and so it was quite the blessing.
Yeah, I would say think for the average female, self included here. The military, even though my father served in the Army, my brother served in the Navy, my nephews have served in different levels of the military, including Coast Guard and so forth. They did it, but they were all men. No one in our family talked as a female, and I just admire you for having the guts, number 1, to choose something that's male dominated and not necessarily, as women are we welcome in that environment. Did you feel like you had challenges in that way?
Absolutely. It was worse when I first started getting in because, when I first enlisted, it was '97 and, there was a lot more of the women shouldn't do this. And, over the years, the shift started to begin where initially there was more men and then the shift started where more women started enlisting as well. But, men didn't think that they needed to listen to a woman. So one specific example is myself and an older gentleman had both tried for a position in the military and he did not get it. I did. And he was older than I and he was, like, very stubborn and did not feel like he needed to listen to me even though I was you know, uh, outranked him at that time and just very stubborn about it. So I came across that many times in the career.
And you can appreciate how men would feel in a male dominated, whether it's the trades or the military, something that's male dominated and has had a history for generations, for instance, where women haven't been a part of that. It could be challenging. Plus, I think out in the combat area, I would think that would be particularly challenging for a woman to be in that environment. Did you ever go in a combat zone by any chance?
I did. So I was deployed 13 times, and most of the time I raised my hand to deploy because it allowed me the opportunity to deploy overseas, get that tax-free income, and save for my son, so I wouldn't have to work a second job when I was home. Um, so it was a higher pay scale, and so that's why I did it. But yeah, over the course of my career, I deployed 13 times, and um, it also gave me the opportunity to see the world, which I did love. I've always loved traveling. That's one of my highest values is traveling, family and traveling. Those are my 2 drivers.
But like you said, then it took away, yes, you got the extra money. There's benefits here for working hard. And when we're younger, that's why we need to seize those opportunities, which you did, was you saw the benefits of the career. You saw the benefits of the increasing income, how you can plan them for future for family. But then at the same time, a little bit earlier, you said, then came that time of reckoning where you decided, okay, I've done this. It's time and then you went and chose this path.
Yes, absolutely, which is kind of funny because finances are also a space where typically it's mostly been men in the financial world. And we're at a space right now where women are more of the breadwinners than men are. There's the shift is happening here too. Um, you know, so it's funny how I've chosen both paths that have been more male than
Male
female.
dominated. Yeah,
Yeah,
I applaud you for that. And not would I encourage anyone to go into the military without making sure that they spoke with someone like you who has been there, done that, as opposed to thinking, I just want to go into it and see what I can do. You have to pay a little bit of a price, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I
As
missed
a
out
mom.
on many of my son's first milestones growing up. And, later on, about 15 years later, I had another child. I had 2 more children. So I had a daughter and I had a son. And the day that everything shifted for me was when people started saying, "Are you the nanny? And is she the aunt?" Because for my younger kids, because I was
Oh,
there to pick them up. I wasn't there for school. I wasn't there for their events. And so, because of the deployments, and there were times when I would go to work and I would start at 6 o'clock in the morning at work. So my alarm would go off about 3:30. I'd go to the gym. I would get ready. I'd go to work and be there. And then sometimes I'd get off at 5 p.m. that afternoon. Sometimes I'd get off at noon at midnight or 10 o'clock. It just varied on what was going on, and I would deploy for 3, 6 months at a time, whatever the case may be. And, so I was also losing those milestones with my younger family, and so
right.
it, I was like, I'm done. And then you kind of get to the point where you're like, I think I need to do something for myself.
And what made you really think the financial spectrum, as opposed to, going into banking, financial solutions, and then you're in business?
Yeah. Well, so I decided to because when I was in the military, I still didn't understand the difference with, like, retirements and life insurance and what I'm actually really doing. And, I mean, we never went to school for it. We didn't get that education in school. We didn't learn what compound interest was. We didn't learn what a tax-free retirement is. We didn't learn what a tax-deferred retirement is. And so, when I learned those things, I was like, other people need to learn that too. And I was already well into my 40s when I started learning that. And one of my business partners, she, somebody that I had actually did business with at the time, and now she's my business partner. Um, she said that she was expanding her agency. And I was like, oh, I reached out to her and I was like, do you think this is something I could do? And she said, absolutely. We need more women in the industry, and I would love to have you join us. And it's a way for me to still serve my community.
I
So,
like that. I like when, and that's part of WOW's, uh, process too, is to in philosophy about bringing women together because together we grow stronger. And that's something that women, traditionally see each other as competition. We are maybe a little territorial, I've been told by some.
yeah.
And that seems to counter and conflict with our success. But with what you're telling me and what I found through WOW is we together, and as we learn from one another, we're educating, elevating, and empowering each other in ways that we never would have done if we would have taken a different route. So I applaud you on, sticking that toe in the water to test the temperatures and then to find out, wow, I can do this and move forward. So when did you decide to build your own business? When did that hit you?
It was 6 years ago. So I started building my business before I retired from the military because I retired in September of 22, but I started my business 6 years ago this August, actually. And I I did not know how to network at all. And, because
Right.
that's another thing we're not taught on how to do. And so kind of trying to figure out, how do you even build a business? And so honestly, I leaned on women that have done it. And that's part of it. It's building that community and knowing that you can trust them, and helping you, because it's different working owning your own business, and it's even different from a man doing it versus a woman doing it because you know what? We're moms, we're wives, we're caregivers.
We're multifaceted
We're
is the term I use over
absolutely
and over again.
yeah,
Mhm.
and so we learn differently, just all of it, and so I, uh, I that's how I started, and that's how I've done most of my learning, and honestly, that's why I'm so thankful for WOW is because it's a group of women that they focus on the relationship, they focus on helping you, and it's not about the competition, it's about the relationship and the friendship and teaching you.
You use that word trust, and I can't help but say that over and over again. You have to, people will say you have to know, like, and trust. And I heard someone say, well, you really don't need that to be successful. But I think to most of us, we would say, I get to know you because now we've had multiple times that we've spent communicating, whether it's virtually. I love the virtual part. I did wow in person only for a decade. But now we can still do the same, acquire the same goals, which is to build those rapports and gain trust with one another through just meeting on the WOW meetings, which are on the first and third Mondays of each month at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for 1 hour. Or they can go and do it themselves, like you said. I can go and meet other ladies, and I don't know if you're going to neighborhood committee meetings or community meetings. Is that how you built up your business?
Some of it is, but also, going to the in-person networking events, but another tool that I've used is going to have going to one of like, for example, Mighty Networks, right? Going in there and just reaching out to them,
Yes.
having a Zoom with them.
Yes. Mighty Networks is our platform that we use at WOW. And you can go in there and meet other ladies that are members of WOW. You can join the membership at WOW too, by the way. I didn't mention that earlier. But you can join the membership. And that way you have access, direct access to the ladies. These are ladies who are sincerely like to know dedicated to what they do. You know, they've already been vetted. You know that they're interested in making relationships with partners, building those relationships. And then that's how things just start working. You don't even have to necessarily ask for the business. But on that note, I think women, that was one of the things in the beginning probably you struggle with was asking for the business, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I didn't wanna feel like a salesperson, and I didn't wanna feel like I was bothering them.
And it's so funny. Little story, when I was in mortgage, there was I did mortgages for men and women both that were on in the bank that I worked for. And the men were very aggressive in asking for the rate and certain other terms of the mortgage process. Where the women, I would talk to them about that. And they were like, oh, I don't want to seem too pushy. Well, it's not being pushy. You're a professional, you're doing business. And I think you've probably eased up on yourself about that philosophy, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
It
Yeah.
can make all the difference, just by, in when I was in mortgage and also here in through WOW and meeting ladies like yourself, is just ask for the business, and people say, "Well, how do you know when to ask for the business?" Well, is it in the beginning of the relationship, or is it in the middle of a conversation, or do I wait until I do business with somebody else to then get confident to then ask them because now that person can provide the testimonial? When is it? And I think at the end of the day, ask for the referral, ask for the business at any point in time in the relationship where you're feeling confident. Would you say that's a strategy that you use, or do you use something else?
That is one of the strategies that I use because, like, honestly, confidence is where it comes from, right? To even ask the question because
Right.
as women, do we feel pretty today? Do we how did we dress
Nah.
to bring that confidence on too,
Yeah. We
you
worry
know?
about so many things, don't we?
We do.
God. I don't know that the guys really pay that much attention to it, but I know us women really struggle with those kind of things. have my lipstick on. When, for instance, when we do our podcast, LaQuincy and Nichols of experiencecoaching.com and myself, we have a podcast. I think we were talking about this earlier. We started August 19th, 2025. It's called Optimize Her Too. And you can see those videos on YouTube as well. And it's funny because I'll say to her, should I put on lipstick or not? And she goes, put on the lipstick. And it's funny how certain ladies feel that's just such an important, thing to do. My girlfriend Jeannie would tell you the same thing, put on the lipstick. She's one of my older best friends from way back. Um, but longtime best friends, I should say. She probably would smack me if I said older best friend. But anyway, it's just you go accustomed to doing certain things. And I think it's important as ladies, do what you're feeling comfortable doing and then stretch it a little bit from time to time.
Yeah. Well, and even on that note, if you don't stretch yourself, you're not growing. So,
No, that's for sure.
you
That's
know,
for sure.
absolutely.
And find out that calendar because as we were speaking earlier, sometimes we have children. We need to set the boundaries while we're working from home, which obviously you and I do. And we have to set those boundaries. Quincy is big on boundaries and talking about boundaries. These are things that, as you're a business owner, that you definitely have to set the tone for the family when you're working inside the home. And even if you're working outside of the home, there's still boundaries that we have to set for them. The long hours, for instance, that can be a challenge. So, Danelle, if is there anything that you would like for us to know? One thing that you want people maybe to reach out to you about, or what your contact information is, so they can get in touch with you and talk about their financial needs.
Absolutely. So for me, I really like to sit down with the person and just kind of find out what they want to do, where they envision their future going, and really just help them along their journey. I am making sure that I connect the dots, help them connect the dots that they wanna connect. I don't try to stuff them into a box that they don't fit into because everybody's situation is completely different. It's not the same, and we should be treated differently as that too. Um, so one of the ways that people can reach out to me would be if they, wanted to give me a call, and I'm happy to share my number, and that's 303-345-5468. They can also reach me by email, which is stratton dot the number 5 rings, rings, @gmail.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and on, Facebook, and so I am here just to be a guide and help along your financial journey.
I think that's important, and we learn all of these things and how important they are. You mentioned LinkedIn. That is a professional. You want to make sure that you're opening your own LinkedIn account, I would say. Facebook, if you have a Facebook presence, we talk about marketing and so forth in business all the time. These are some of the basics. And I can tell you, and you may be able to attest as well, that I feel LinkedIn is really for those serious minded business people as opposed to Facebook. It's just not quite there for business, at least for me. I really appreciate the communications and the introductions, the referrals I've received on LinkedIn. I think that's a great tool that you're using, and I appreciate that.
It absolutely is. That's where you're not just scrolling, you're looking for specific
Right.
things.
And
So
you can then go in and you can, follow Danelle, and she has, from time to time, information, or you can message her on LinkedIn as well, and that's Dannelle. There's 2 N's, 2 L's there in her name. You wanna take note that. Um, I thank you so much for finally getting together with me since we met. And like I said, I felt like it had been like a year. That's amazing how quickly it's just another testimonial about if you work, you can work hard every day and still feel the stresses of work. But if you love your work, it almost becomes a pleasure. And I know there's different ways of saying that, but it is true. I love what I do at WOW, Women Optimizing Women, as much as it sounds like you enjoy what you're doing, Danelle. And I think it's great that we can thrive in something that we enjoy doing all the time. It's like,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a joy. And I'll sign off by just saying, Danelle, thank you again so very much for joining me at WOW. Appreciate the kudos for WOW. We'd love seeing more of you, of course, at our bi weekly meetings on the first and third Mondays of each month from 11 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time. You can view my website, wowwomenus.com, and you can see the events. You can look up the other ladies at WOW and connect with us. We look forward to the pleasure of your company. Stay well.